one piece from Gary Vee, the legend Gary Vee, on haters or people that dislike you for whatever reason is, you know, he actually shows or says, you know, to appreciate them. He's actually amazed by them because those people tell you that you're actually doing something right in this world. You know, you want haters, you want people who, you know, have something to say, you know, whether it be rude, whatever, about what you're doing. Because you know what, guess what? As Gary Vee says, you know, they're taking time away from whatever they're doing in their day to stop what they're doing and acknowledge you. What is that? Okay, that was confusing. And yeah, man, and those people, you use them to motivate you. You know, you got to be appreciative, man. Like, wow, those people, you know, they actually, in essence, it sounds counterintuitive, but they're supporting you. You know, you really left an impression on them, an impact on them, to where they felt the urge or the need to stop. And you know what they did? They acknowledged you as, yeah, like I said, as opposite as it sounds, they stopped and they, you know, acknowledged your presence, you know, which is actually one of the biggest compliments. Because if you just disappear and fade, you know, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but those people you probably didn't leave an impression on, which doesn't mean to go around and be a show-off or a crazy juggling guy like me, but you find your own thing, you find your own way or your niche, you know, what you're good at, and you focus on that and you train it and you get better and better every day at it, and then ultimately one day you'll be put in a position, you know, of high influence, high power. You know, a lot of people have their eyes on you and are watching you, and you got to be fine with that, because you know what, all those people, they're not going to have the same opinion of you, they're not going to have the same judgment of you, and you gotta, you know, be still in a sense. You got to be the same person, you know, you got to be true to who you are regardless of what they think, you know, and keep doing it. You know, I would say for you, you know, this is why I do this. I do this for me. I do everything, you know, in my life for myself. You know, that's not to say that I'm selfish, but deep down, you know, that is my purpose, you know, to make the most of my life before I'm gone. Because you know what, that day for me, for all of you, is coming. And whether you like it or not, you know, you got to make the most of your life before it's all said and done, because your days are limited. You can do whatever exercise you want and extend your life, but you're still going to be put, you know, 6 feet into the ground and, oh wait, hold up. And, you know, have an end, you know, to the greatness that is life. You know, just being born here, just being alive, you know, a lot of people take it for granted. It was one of the biggest, I'd say, blessings, or, you know, lucky or luck. You know, I'm alive, you know, I have a pulse, I'm breathing, because you know what, there's tens of thousands of people every hour that are passing away, that are dying, you know, in different parts of the world. And you know, just to not be one of those people that's happening to is, you know, a major blessing within itself. You know, and a lot of people get caught in the small things. And that's what I would say. You know, their little things are almost insignificant. You know, who cares? You know, I didn't do this, I didn't get this. No, this didn't turn out to be the way that it turned out, you know, whether it's an interview or a day at work, whatever you call it. Those things, they're little, they're insignificant, they don't matter in the grand scheme of things. You know, when you zoom out, you know, that's one technique that they say, you know, if you're getting too stressed out, too worried, you gotta zoom out. you know, to you, this, you know, assignment or deadline, you know, or this objective might seem like everything in the world. Oh my God, I gotta do this. You know, if I don't, it's the end of the world. And it might seem, well, like everything. Oh, we almost died. But you gotta realize that that's not everything. You know, you gotta zoom out. You know, zoom out from, you know, your target. You know, you see that goal on a piece of paper. You know, you zoom out. Guess what? You're a guy in a room. You're another person in a room. You zoom out again. You know, you're a guy in a house. Zoom out again. You're a guy, you know, in your state, which in my case is Florida. You know, then you zoom out again in the United States and the earth and so on. And then you soon start to realize, you know, how small you are in terms of the whole scope of the universe. And then you realize, you know, why am I stressing so much over such small, insignificant things? You know, that's what they are. They're insignificant. You don't have to worry about them so much. You know, that's not to say, you know, to give it your all and try your best, you know, but one thing you got to realize is that if you've shown up and given it your all, things, they're not always going to turn out to be the way you imagine, you know, the way that you want to be. And you got to be fine with that, regardless of the outcome. You know what? Because you're just another person on earth, you know, with a limited time frame, a limited, you know, span, you know, of duration on this earth. And to waste time thinking about past occurrences and events that have happened before is really just a waste of time. You're wasting time, energy, you know, and ultimately your duration on things that ultimately are a waste of time, you know, that can be spent being thought of on other things, more important things, you know, the next thing in front of you, the next task. So you almost, you know, have to be cold and, you know, non-reactive and unemotional, you know, when things happen. You know, you can't, you know, take that as, you know, being a jerk. You know, you talk to someone the wrong way, you treat them the wrong way. Guess what? They hate you, they don't like you, they don't want to be your friend anymore. You know, it's not one to say that you can't apologize and figure out what happened and make things work, because that's what you want to think about is the next time, you know, instead of being cold and, oh, forget this person, you know, I'm gonna just do whatever, you know, he can screw off, whatever insert expletive you want to put for that. So with that in mind, you know, you gotta realize when to stop and take criticism and learn versus to ignore it. So that's one thing, you know, you want to hear is you want to be criticized. You want to hear, you know, you should do this, you should work on this. You know, if you're a fitness junkie, you know, you don't want to hear, man, your body's so great. Yes, you know, that has its place, but in reality, I want to hear is, wow, you have great biceps, but your triceps, man, if you get them a little bit bigger, you work on them a little bit more, you'll be a monster. You know, and those are the little things I like to hear, because they give me, you know, a greater chance at growth. You know, that's not to take it as like, oh man, who is this guy? You know, he's telling me that, you know, I'm small, look at him, he's half my size. You know, no, you know, you take it and you get better from it. You know, don't let it affect you, don't let it tap into your ego. You know, your ego, it'll play tricks on you. It'll make you think, man, you know, I'm this big, strong, buff guy, no one can mess with me. No, you know, you can't fall into that trap, because it'll hinder your growth. It'll stop you from developing and making yourself better. So, you know, with that, that's one thing, is disconnecting your ego from your working, you know, abilities, your abilities to get better, you know, your chance, your lust for life, you know, some might describe it. getting back into the sidewalk here and continuing. And man, do they have such beautiful homes out here. And those are definitely goals of mine as we see the Lamborghini. Lambo. Boy, would we want to be in one of those right now. Instead of running and torching ourselves out in this heat. That's... Why do we do this to ourselves? Why do I do this to me? You know, why do you work? You know, oh, and we got trapped, handcuffed by a tree. You know, that's the essence of it. You know, you gotta have a purpose, you gotta have a reason why you're doing this. Because if not, you know, your objectives, they'll just, you know, fall apart because they'll be too thin, too shallow. You know, you wanna have a nicer body because of what? Because why? Why do you wanna do it? Do you wanna, you know, pick up more chicks? You know, do you wanna look better for you? There's gotta be a reason behind it. And that's where purpose comes into play. You know, whether it's, you know, for some, you know, it's outperforming, you know, their family, you know, their, you know, for me, probably be outperforming my father or my, you know, uncle, whatever, you know, being a stronger version of them, being a more improved version of them, taking what they taught me as a kid and expanding, you know, from that and passing it on. You know, ultimately, you know, for me, you know, I would feel would be a great compliment, you know, if, you know, one of my descendants took what I taught them, you know, and passed it down. You know, that's a big thing, it's legacy. You know, what are people gonna still be thinking of you or feeling your influence after you're gone? That's a big thing. And with that, you know, you got to figure out, that's what the talk of, you know, what are you doing right now with this life? Because, you know, your days are limited. You know, your legacy, you know, is formed while you're alive, while you're human, not before you're born. You know, although some may argue if you were born in a more privileged household, you know, a person that, you know, you're a Trump Jr., you're all this, you have all these accolades, you know, before you were born, or even born into royalty, as an extreme example. But nonetheless, what that person does, even though, let's say they're, you know, their crown is waiting for them and everything, they still got to put in the work, they still got to show up, you know, during their life. Because if not, people, they'll start to doubt them. And if they doubt you, you'll start to lose eyes. You'll start to lose trust from those, you know, who are close to you, those who you want to have your back, who want to support you, you know. So, you know, to give you an example, you know, that musician, when he goes, he can't just, you know, record a hit song and stop. You know, although some may argue, you know, one-hit wonders have pretty crazy and cool lives. You know, if that musician wants to be, you know, a Jay-Z, a Beyonce, you know, a Michael Jackson, someone, you know, with a, regardless of what you may think of them, someone with a huge legacy, that people are still going to be influenced by them for arguably hundreds of years to come. You know, it was about what they did in between songs and after songs, and what they did, they showed up. They didn't just, you know, do things half-heartedly. They just, everything they did, they put their all into it. And ultimately, that's why we come to respect them. You know, we know who they are in this day and age, and from that, they built a name for themselves. And we gotta yell, you know, we now know them as Michael Jackson, Beyonce, you know, Drake. You know, they weren't born who they were. They weren't, Drake wasn't born Drake. Jay-Z wasn't born Jay-Z. You know, Drake was born Aubrey Graham. You know, a regular guy in Toronto. You know, he had to endure the struggle of trying to become an actor, then make it onto a show, and still that we probably know, y'all probably know as Degrassi as Wheelchair Jimmy, but for him, he didn't feel that that was enough. He felt the need to keep going and make a name for himself. And even I remember in the show, he had a part, you know, as cliche as it may be, or whatever word it is, I can't think of it right now. They put him up in a scene to rap, you know, and guess what? He turned out to be one of the greatest or most influentials, whatever. I mean, I don't want to piss off all the, if you're a hater of him, if you don't really think his work is up to par, which I might disagree, you know, but that's what happened to him, is he took that small little idea of, you know, him being a rapper on that show, and he ran with it. He made that who he is. He made that every part of him. You know, he eats, sleeps, drinks, and arguably breathes rap and pop, you know, and music, you know, and now he lives pretty comfortably.